When you stop chasing a narcissist, the first thing they feel is shock. They've grown so used to your constant effort, your texts, calls, and reassurances, that silence feels like a slap. They expect you to run after them whenever they pull away. So when you don't, it unsettles them. The game they've always relied on suddenly loses its power, and this disruption leaves them confused, irritated, and unprepared for what comes next. Narcissists thrive on control, and chasing is proof they still have it. Your pursuit feeds their ego, confirming they matter, and that you fear losing them. When you stop, they feel their grip slipping. That loss of control terrifies them more than they'll admit. Deep down, they depend on the validation of knowing you'll always come back. Without it, they're left staring at a mirror that reflects their own emptiness. At first, they may dismiss your silence as temporary. They tell themselves, they'll come around eventually. Narcissists rely on patterns, and if you've always chased before, they assume you'll do it again. They wait, testing how long you can resist. But as days pass with no message, no call, no pleading, their confidence wavers. That doubt eats at them, chipping away at the belief that they are untouchable. Soon, anxiety begins to creep in. Narcissists may appear arrogant on the outside, but inside they are fragile. When you stop chasing, they wonder if you found someone else or finally discovered their manipulation. The silence forces them to question their value. This insecurity is unbearable because their ego depends on others constantly feeding it. Your refusal to chase leaves them starving for attention. Next comes anger. Narcissists hate feeling powerless, and your silence feels like defiance. They may lash out with passive-aggressive remarks, sudden outbursts, or cold withdrawal meant to punish you. Their anger is really fear disguised as control. They want to provoke a reaction, any reaction, to confirm you still care. By refusing to engage, you expose their weakness, and that truth makes them furious. Some narcissists will resort to guilt-tripping when you stop chasing. They may act wounded, saying things like, "I thought you cared," or "I guess I was wrong about you." These words are not sincere. They're weapons. They want you to feel responsible for their unhappiness so you all break the silence and run back. But guilt is just another form of manipulation, hidden under a fragile mask. Others may try to regain control through the silent treatment. They pull back, hoping you'll panic and chase harder. But when you stay calm and unbothered, their tactic fails. The silence, which once felt powerful, turns into a prison of their own making. They realize ignoring you no longer works, and that realization cuts deep into their sense of superiority. If silence doesn't work, they may switch to love bombing again. Suddenly they're sweet, affectionate, and full of compliments. They promise change, painting a picture of the person you always hoped they'd be. But this sudden charm is not real. It's bait. They are desperate to pull you back into the cycle, and love bombing is their most polished trick. Recognizing this pattern breaks the spell. Narcissists may also attempt to provoke jealousy. They might flaunt new relationships online or drop hints about someone else's attention. Their goal is simple: to spark a reaction. They believe jealousy will force you to chase again. But when you stay detached, their plan backfires. Instead of feeling powerful, they feel exposed, realizing their games no longer control your emotions. Underneath all these tactics lies fear. Narcissists fear abandonment more than anything. Your silence represents rejection, and rejection shatters their fragile ego. They may pretend not to care, acting cold or distant, but inside they're terrified. The mask of confidence hides deep insecurity, and your refusal to chase becomes proof that they are not as invincible as they believed. When you stop chasing, narcissists often scramble to test your boundaries. They might send short, vague texts like "hey" or "miss me," just to see if you'll respond. These breadcrumbs are not genuine efforts to reconnect, but strategies to measure how much control they still have. If you reply quickly, they feel validated. If you don't, the silence unsettles them even more, creating frustration and panic they try to hide. One hidden truth is that narcissists depend on predictability. They expect the empath or partner to react in familiar ways, and chasing is usually part of that script. When you stop, you break the pattern, and they lose their sense of power. This disruption forces them into uncomfortable territory where they feel exposed. Without the certainty of your pursuit, their confidence begins to crumble piece by piece. At first, they may try to convince themselves they don't care. They tell themselves, "I never needed them anyway." But this is self-deception. Narcissists thrive on attention, and when it disappears, they feel an emptiness they can't fill. They may distract themselves with work, social media, or new people, but none of it compares. Your silence lingers in their mind, and pretending not to care only deepens their frustration. Another reaction you may not see is their private rage. While they might act calm on the surface, internally they are boiling. They resent the loss of power and replay scenarios in their head where you come crawling back. This fantasy soothes them temporarily, but when reality doesn't match, the anger intensifies. Their secret rage is proof that your silence has struck at the very core of their ego. Narcissists may also resort to smear campaigns when chasing stops. They spread rumors, twist stories, and portray themselves as the victim. By doing this, they hope to regain control through outside validation. They want others to chase them if you won't. But deep down, these tactics reveal desperation. The more they smear, the more it proves that your silence bothers them far more than they'll ever admit. They might suddenly reappear with fabricated crises. A narcissist could claim they're sick, facing trouble at work, or dealing with an emergency, all designed to pull you back in. These staged problems are bait for your empathy. They know you care deeply, and they rely on that kindness. But when you stay strong and avoid reacting, they're forced to face the emptiness of their manipulation. When chasing stops, narcissists may also turn to triangulation. They involve other people, friends, family, or even new partners, to draw you back into the game. They might say, "Even my friend thinks you're ignoring me unfairly," or show off attention from someone new. This tactic is meant to stir jealousy and insecurity, but refusing to play along leaves them powerless, exposing how reliant they are on drama to feel important. Over time, the narcissist's mask begins to slip. Without your constant pursuit, they no longer feel the need to maintain charm. Instead, you may see more irritation, coldness, or arrogance. What once seemed like confidence now looks like insecurity disguised as pride. Your silence holds up a mirror they can't escape, and what they see is not strength but fragility they try desperately to keep hidden. In their frustration, narcissists may attempt hoovering, sudden attempts to pull you back with dramatic gestures. They might write long apologies, send gifts, or claim they've changed. But hoovering is rarely genuine. It's about restoring control, not building healthy love. When you see through it and refuse to chase, their desperation grows. They realize their tricks are losing power, and that terrifies them more than anything. The longer you refuse to chase, the more the narcissist feels irrelevant. Attention is their lifeline, and your silence starves them. They may try harder with manipulative tactics, but deep down they are forced to face the truth. They are not the center of your world anymore. This realization crushes their ego. What really happens when you stop chasing is that the narcissist begins to collapse under the weight of their own emptiness. As time passes, narcissists begin to feel abandoned, even if they were the ones who pulled away first. Your refusal to chase forces them to sit with feelings they usually avoid. Abandonment is their greatest fear, and without your attention, they can't escape it. They may distract themselves with new people or activities, but when the distractions fade, the silence becomes unbearable. Deep down, they feel discarded, even though they discarded you first. When you stop chasing, narcissists often double down on control. They might suddenly demand things they never cared about before, just to test if you'll comply. If you don't, it unsettles them. These hidden power struggles are a sign they're losing ground. They secretly fear that you're slipping away for good, but instead of admitting it, they disguise fear as control, hoping to intimidate you into giving them back the attention they crave. The narcissist's mind begins to spiral when they realize your silence is real. They replay old conversations, searching for signs they missed. They wonder if you've grown stronger or if someone else has entered your life. This obsessive thinking gnaws at them, but they'll never admit it. Instead, they hide behind arrogance, pretending they don't care. But in private, their thoughts circle endlessly around the one thing they've lost: your pursuit. One of the most telling signs of their unraveling is their sudden inconsistency. They may alternate between coldness and warmth, insults and compliments, rejection and longing. This emotional roller coaster is designed to bait you back into chasing. But the truth is, their inconsistency reflects inner chaos. They can't decide whether to punish you or win you back, so they attempt both, secretly terrified that neither will work this time. Narcissists may secretly stalk your life from a distance. They check your social media, ask mutual friends about you, or lurk in places they know you'll be. To them, this hidden monitoring is a way to regain control without appearing vulnerable. They want to know if you're still affected, if you're sad, or if you've moved on. Seeing you thrive without them feeds both envy and regret, emotions they struggle to hide. When you don't chase, narcissists may project their insecurities onto you. They might accuse you of being selfish, disloyal, or cold. These accusations are really their hidden fears turned outward. They can't face the idea that they are the ones who failed, so they blame you instead. This projection is not random. It is their way of defending against the painful truth that you've taken away their power by standing still. Behind their arrogance, narcissists secretly crave the validation your chasing once provided. Your pursuit reassured them that they were desirable, important, and in control. Without it, they feel exposed. Their hidden insecurity becomes louder, even though they mask it with pride. This is why they might desperately seek validation from others, because they can handle the void left when you no longer play their game. Over time, their mask begins to slip completely. Without the comfort of your pursuit, they become more irritable, more erratic, and less polished in their manipulation. You may see them lash out publicly or contradict themselves in ways they never used to. This unraveling is their hidden weakness surfacing. They can maintain their perfect image when the foundation of your attention has been pulled out from under them. Another hidden reality is that narcissists begin to regret underestimating you. They thought you'd never stop chasing, that your loyalty was endless. When you prove them wrong, it stings. They secretly resent your strength because it exposes their weakness. This regret is never admitted openly, but it lingers in their mind, reminding them that they lost control to someone they once believed they completely dominated. The longer your silence continues, the more desperate the narcissist becomes. They may escalate their tactics, moving from subtle breadcrumbs to dramatic gestures, even outright begging. This desperation is hidden under excuses, but the truth is clear. Without your chasing, they lose the ability to regulate their fragile ego. What really happens is that the narcissist begins to collapse inward, consumed by the emptiness they once disguised with your pursuit. When you stop chasing, narcissists sometimes try to act like they don't notice. They may pretend to be busy, distracted, or entirely uninterested. But this act is a cover. Inside, they are rattled, replaying the loss of attention they once enjoyed daily. The silence feels like rejection, and rejection to a narcissist feels like death. They will never admit how much it hurts, but it gnaws at them constantly. Narcissists secretly measure your silence against past patterns. They think, last time they caved in after 2 days, why not now? When your behavior breaks those old cycles, it shocks them. They begin to wonder if you've changed permanently. That doubt terrifies them, because it means their favorite form of control may be gone for good. This hidden calculation is proof of how much they depend on predictable responses. They may respond to your silence by exaggerating their independence. Suddenly, they act as if they're thriving without you, posting about how happy they are or bragging about new opportunities. But behind this performance lies insecurity. These displays are not genuine confidence. They're carefully staged shows to provoke you into reacting. Deep down, they fear you won't take the bait, and that fear eats at them in silence. At this stage, narcissists often begin to self-sabotage. Without your constant reassurance, they may make reckless choices. jumping into unstable relationships, overspending, or creating chaos just to feel powerful again. These hidden behaviors reveal their lack of self-control. They relied so heavily on your chasing to stabilize their ego that without it they spiral. The empath never sees the full extent, but their downfall is often dramatic. Narcissists may also secretly blame you for their discomfort. In their mind, your silence is not a boundary. It's betrayal. They tell themselves that you're cruel for ignoring them, even though they've ignored you countless times before. This twisted logic allows them to feel like the victim. They hide this reasoning from you, but it fuels their bitterness and their attempts to punish you for daring to stand still. When the silence continues, they sometimes return to hoovering, but this time it's louder. They may send emotional messages, reminders of good times, or even sudden apologies. They frame these gestures as sincerity, but secretly they're strategies. They don't miss you, they miss the control your chasing gave them. When you don't respond, it devastates them, because it proves their tricks no longer hold the same power. Another hidden reaction is jealousy of your peace. Narcissists can sense when you're no longer weighed down by their chaos. Your calm unsettles them because it shows you're stronger without them. They secretly envy that inner peace, even as they try to mock or dismiss it. This envy fuels their attempts to disrupt your calm, but every failed attempt leaves them more frustrated and powerless. Narcissists may also hide their curiosity about your growth. When you stop chasing, you create space for healing and self-discovery. They secretly notice this shift, whether through your silence, your confidence, or your new direction in life. Instead of celebrating it, they resent it. They hide their curiosity because admitting it would mean acknowledging that you are thriving without them, and that as a truth they can handle. Over time, your silence forces them to confront their own insignificance. This is their greatest fear, that they are not as important as they believe. They may pretend to have moved on, but secretly, they struggle with the idea that you no longer orbit around them. This loss of relevance is unbearable, and it leaves them restless, angry, and desperate for ways to pull you back into their world. The most painful truth for a narcissist when you stop chasing is that they lose their illusion of superiority. Chasing allowed them to believe they were in control, the prize worth fighting for. Your silence flips the script, proving that you have power too. This revelation is what really breaks them inside. They may never say it aloud, but deep down, they know they've lost their grip on you forever. When you stop chasing, narcissists sometimes panic in ways you don't see. They might stay up late scrolling through your old messages, reading them over and over to remind themselves of the attention they once had. They secretly crave that energy, but their pride won't allow them to admit it. The contrast between your silence now and your past devotion becomes unbearable, fueling their inner collapse. Narcissists also begin to fear replacement. Even if they've moved on, they secretly imagine you finding someone kinder, healthier, and stronger than them. The thought torments them because it proves they are not unique or irreplaceable. They hide this fear behind arrogance or by flaunting their own new relationships. But deep down, the idea of you being happier without them eats away at their fragile ego. Another hidden reality is that narcissists regret underestimating your strength. They thought you'd always chase, always forgive, always fold under pressure. When you don't, it forces them to see you differently. They secretly regret losing the version of you who gave endlessly. That regret is twisted, though. It's not about love, but about losing control over someone they thought would always remain loyal. Sometimes narcissists secretly try to replace your energy with multiple people. They might juggle new friends, partners, or admirers, hoping to replicate the validation they lost. But it never works. No matter how many people they gather, it doesn't feel the same. They realize quietly and painfully that your unique devotion cannot be duplicated. This hidden emptiness grows louder each time their new supply fails to satisfy. They also hide the extent of their envy when they see you thrive. If you begin to glow again, post happy pictures, or achieve success, it unsettles them. They secretly resent your growth because it highlights their own stagnation. Instead of cheering for you, they grow bitter, masking it with indifference. Yet behind the mask, they know your strength proves something they've always feared, that you never needed them. A disturbing secret is that narcissists often plan future hoovers, even while pretending they've moved on. They think, "I'll come back when they least expect it." This hidden plan gives them comfort, a way to believe they'll always have access to you. But if you stay firm, this fantasy collapses. Nothing terrifies them more than realizing the door is closed for good and their return will mean nothing. When chasing stops, narcissists also struggle with identity. They define themselves by how others react to them. Your silence forces them to see the cracks in their mask. Without your pursuit, they feel lost, like an actor without an audience. This hidden identity crisis is painful, but they'll never admit it. Instead, they project confidence while secretly spiraling, unsure of who they are without your validation. Another hidden truth is that narcissists replay the relationship in their mind differently. They focus not on their mistakes, but on your devotion. They remember the times you begged, explained, or pleaded and compare it to your silence now. The difference unsettles them deeply. It reminds them that they pushed too far and that the dynamic they relied on is broken forever. That realization is their private torment. Ultimately, what happens when you stop chasing is that the narcissist is forced to face themselves. All the games, manipulation, and control tactics no longer work. Your silence leaves them alone with their emptiness, their insecurity, and their fears. They may pretend to thrive, but inside they are unraveling. This is the truth they desperately try to hide. Without your pursuit, their false power collapses. In the end, your decision not to chase is the most powerful move you can make. It doesn't just starve the narcissist of supply. It forces them into the mirror of their own dysfunction. They lose control. They lose their sense of superiority. And they are left with regret they cannot voice. What really happens is simple. When you stop chasing, you reclaim your power, and the narcissist begins to crumble under their own emptiness.